A warm welcome to this episode of Halvan's podcast, Some Time and Money. Today, we're going to talk about something that becomes more and more relevant the closer we get to Christmas. Because how do you choose the perfect watch as a gift for your partner or maybe for yourself? So today, we'll be talking about women's watches, whether you're looking for the perfect watch for your partner or for yourself. So guidance is always a good thing. That's why we've invited Rasmus Thomsen from our sales department, who will share his knowledge about which women's watches are most popular and what you should pay attention to when buying a watch. Welcome, Rasmus.
Thank you very much.
The first question I'd like to ask you is whether the demand for women's watches has changed over the past few years.
Yes, it actually has. If you define women's watches as being 36 millimeters and below in size, so it has definitely changed. Just a few years ago, we actually saw a big trend towards these 26 and 28 millimeter sizes. We've actually moved a bit away from that now and are seeing a trend where people, or at least women, are going for the 36 millimeter size and even larger. They also have 41 millimeter sizes. So clearly the trend regarding, you could say, the defined women's group size has definitely changed in terms of demand.
Are there any specific brands or models that are particularly popular among women today?
Yes, it is there. Especially the three major women's brands, as we actually call them, which are of course Rolex and also Omega, and then the oldest wristwatch brand that exists, simply Cartier. And especially within Cartier, we are seeing a really high demand for the Santos models, which in recent years have become incredibly popular because they also come in all sorts of sizes, materials, and dials. We are experiencing a lot of demand there, and these are possibly some of the models that have actually seen the most growth in the market. And of course, Omega as well, especially their Aquaterra line within the Seamaster series, where we are also seeing a lot of demand for the 34, 36, and 31 millimeter models. The interesting thing about something like Omega is, among other things, that we are able to bring them in at significantly below the recommended retail prices. The last Aquaterra we brought in actually saved the customer around 7,000 kroner. So it also makes a lot of sense if you want a nice women's watch where you really get a lot of watch for your money. Well, then I would also highly recommend Omega. Of course, Cartier and Rolex as well, but it's a bit easier to get your hands on these Omega models.
So Aquaterra is very popular at Omega?
Yes.
What about compared to Rolex?
The cool thing about Rolex is, and that's also why we see so much demand for it, is because they come in all sorts of different configurations. Whether it's through the size, the material, the bracelet, the dial, diamonds on the bezel, or whatever it may be, you can pretty much get exactly the watch and configuration you want. You can make it incredibly specific with these women's models as well, even down to their 28 millimeter Lady Datejust. So I would almost dare to claim that those who have thought about it for a very long time and have been searching for a specific model tend to go more towards Rolex, because there they can actually find exactly what they originally wanted and don't have to compromise with something else, but can simply create precisely the configuration they want.
Now, you mentioned both material, size, and so on. What would you recommend to people who come in? I mean, it seems like there is a really large selection, and as you mentioned yourself with Rolex, you can pick and choose a bit of everything and customize it. How would you guide people to find their dream watch?
Yes, that's a good question. We always break it down into two different parameters, and that's really the big question every time. Is it a good investment? And to that question, I would usually always say yes, because over a number of years, Rolex has always proven to be a good investment. But if you go out and invest in a full gold day date in 36, then you probably won't be able to make money on it tomorrow. But over the next 10, 20, 30 years, well, then you will probably have made a nice profit on it, or at least break even. But if we also take the other question, which is, which watch would you actually want to wear for the rest of your life and look down at and enjoy? So with the experience we've gathered over the past few years, I would think that a 36 millimeter Jubilee bracelet, the gold and steel version, possibly with a champagne dial, you can never really go wrong with that, because whether you have white gold jewelry, steel jewelry, silver or gold, well, it actually matches everything. And especially with this Jubilee bracelet, you get an incredible amount of jewelry value on top of it. And you get that with the 31 as well, and also the 28. But that's also it. Those are also the older versions we've seen the most demand for. Gold and steel, Jubilee, champagne dial, whether it's the really old reference from the 80s, 70s, and 90s, or if it's the new one, well, that's typically where people gravitate. And I find that people are quite happy and satisfied and really enjoy their watch every single day if they choose that configuration.
Is it typically vintage or brand new models that people ask about?
And that's also a really good question, and it really varies a lot from customer to customer. There are those customers who come into the store or contact us who want a brand new watch, specifically with a certain dial, a bezel, and so on. And of course, if that's what they want, then they should have a brand new one. Then there are also those customers who have been considering a model for a long time, for example, a Datejust in 36 with a gold dial, champagne dial, or a completely different dial, and who actually have a set budget, 60, 70,000, where you can't get a brand new one, but then we can provide a super nice example with both box and papers from, yes, either the early 2000s or even the late 2000s for under those 70,000. So it really varies from customer to customer, and you just get incredibly beautiful watches in that price range, both ways. But of course, there are those who want something new and those who prefer something gently used.
Do you have any specific recommendations for iconic women's watches that both have a timeless style and hold their value well?
Yes, and again, it's also very individual, but if I had to choose a watch, if I were a woman and had to pick a watch that was stylish and had a timeless design, I would definitely look towards the Datejust 36, either reference 1603 or reference 1601. So that's a Datejust with a Jubilee bracelet, 36 millimeters. And then I would actually go for a silver dial. I think those who come in with them, they look incredibly beautiful. And we also have some of them in stock ourselves, which are extremely popular as well. Because no matter if you're 70 or 15 years old, it actually fits on your wrist, and it goes with a suit, and it goes with a hoodie, and it goes with a sweatshirt. It's a watch you can wear to every single gathering. Whether it's a fancy occasion, a formal one, or just for everyday use, it always fits. And it's a watch you can get without spending a huge amount of money. I think we're talking about 40 to 60,000 or so. So it's definitely also a watch. If I had to choose a timeless watch, I would definitely go for either reference 1601 or reference 1603. And if I were to move into a slightly more specific area, still within Rolex, I would definitely look at something like the Rolex Day Date, also in 36 millimeters. One of the cool things I think about white gold watches, for example, is that you can't really tell, at least not unless you have a trained eye, that it's made of white gold. So if you've been considering it for a long time and you find a model that maybe others don't have, well, then I think this Day Date 36 could be an extremely good option. For example, we currently have a couple in stock with a very special mother of pearl dial, also with diamonds set in the dial in this 18 karat solid white gold, which basically just looks like steel. And what we usually say, what we think is really fun about these models in white gold and wow, also in platinum, is that if you don't know, then you just don't know. But if you do, then you know. And it's incredibly cool that you can walk down the street and people look down and say you have a steel watch, but it's actually white gold. So it's kind of for those who have been considering it for a long time and want to have something nice on their wrist in white gold. So I definitely think if I were to recommend a watch, I would definitely say that's an incredibly good option. And if we, again, get a bit more specific, but actually try to move away from Rolex, as mentioned earlier, Cartier is also incredibly popular. So I would definitely also look at something like the Cartier Santos in medium or even small size. Incredibly cool and also timeless models. And among other things, the Santos model is actually the first wristwatch ever made. So there's an incredible amount of history behind it, and it's also a really specific choice. You're moving more into the classic and truly timeless and elegant style with that beautiful dial featuring Roman numerals. So that's definitely the direction I've gone in as well. At least I've considered it, because they're also in a really great price range right now, and it's just something we're seeing an incredible amount of demand for. And possibly that model is among those that have increased the most over the years. The Santos model is really, really popular and super cool.
What should you do if you're unsure about which size fits you?
There are actually 3 really good options. The first is, of course, to stop by and visit us here in Aarhus at our flagship store on Stortorv, where we have almost all the watches in stock, so you can simply come in and try them on. And whether it's from 26 to 41, we have them, so you can try them on and get a feel for them. Because one of the most important things we've learned is that it's not enough to just look at pictures of them. You really need to actually try them on your wrist and, so to speak, see them with your own hands. It's extremely important and also really important for us that you leave the store or wherever you are with the feeling that you found the right size. So one of the things we also do, if you're not from Aarhus or the surrounding area, is that whether you're from Skagen, Tønder, or sitting somewhere on Zealand or Funen, we'll actually bring the watches to you in different sizes. That way we can come to you in your own comfortable environment and personally show you the watches so you can try them on right there. It's also a great opportunity for you to look us in the eye and for us to present these watches to you at the same time. So it's really a very good opportunity as well. And then we also have a size guide on our website, urhandleren.dk, where you can actually see pictures and the size ratios on what I would dare to call a fairly average woman's wrist. And there you can also see all the sizes from 26 to 41. So those are basically the 3 options available. I would definitely recommend that you try them on and not just rely on the size guide, but actually get the chance to see and feel them in person.
Christmas is, well, it's getting closer, and there are probably some men out there who really want to give the perfect Christmas gift to their partner. Do you have any good advice for them?
Yes, first and foremost, I would always recommend getting some guidance. Whether it's from me or someone from my sales team, we are more than happy to help and guide you through this process because there are so many options and so many different customers out there. But a good place to start is to pay attention to what kind of jewelry your partner usually wears. If she wears gold jewelry, then I would definitely recommend looking at something in gold or gold-plated steel. And if it's something like bracelets, gold bracelets that she usually wears, then I would recommend that we definitely also take a look at this Jubilee bracelet, and probably not larger than 36, and then simply go down in sizes from there, because these bracelets add so much jewelry value to the slightly smaller watches. So I definitely think you can find a spot where she'll be incredibly happy with it and really won't feel much, resistance to change, but instead will be pleased with an addition, getting a watch at the same time as a new piece of jewelry on her wrist. And of course, if your partner, she's active, and she usually wears steel watches, then I would also recommend maybe looking at something like a Daytona or a GMT or a Submariner, because these are the steel versions. And of course, it doesn't necessarily have to be a Rolex. There are also plenty of great options within Omega, where you also have these gold and steel models in all sorts of sizes and dials. Also things like Tag Heuer and also Cartier, as mentioned earlier. And we can also get all sorts of other manufacturers home. So definitely pay attention to what my partner usually wears. Does she wear anything? So no matter what, whether it's our competitors or us, I would always recommend getting some guidance so you can find the right watch for your partner.
That's all we have time for today. Thank you, Rasmus, for wanting to join us today.
Thank you as well.
And remember, you can always contact us if you have any questions or need guidance when buying your next watch. We have the ability to serve all of Denmark that's connected by bridges, so it doesn't matter if you're on Zealand, Funen or Jutland. And of course, you're always welcome to visit our flagship store in the heart of Aarhus. We are listened to.